The galaxy had seen many strange creatures, but none made Dr. Virella laugh more than humans. Virella was one of the top alien scientists on Tirax 9, a cold planet filled with silver towers and glowing laboratories. Her mind was sharp, her logic perfect, and her belief in alien superiority unshakable. She worked for the Galactic Science Division, where they studied species from faraway worlds to understand the limits of evolution. To her, life was data, numbers, shapes, and codes. Emotions were useless. Compassion was weakness. That belief changed the day the human sample arrived. A team of field researchers carried a sealed capsule into her lab. Inside floated a preserved human body, male, around 30 years old, from a planet called Earth. The council had marked humans as primitive, barely capable of space travel, emotionally unstable, and biologically fragile. As the capsule opened, mist filled the room. The human floated weightless in the air, eyes closed, face peaceful. Virella smirked. "Such a simple design," she said, circling the body. "Soft skin, weak muscles, no scales, no energy field. And they call this intelligent life?" Her assistants chuckled. One of them, a younger alien named Rill, added, "They say humans die from something called sadness. Imagine that. Dying because you feel too much." The room burst into laughter. Virella waved her hand and began scanning the body. Holograms of DNA strands appeared, twisting in the air like golden threads. "Look at this," she said. "Their DNA has so many errors. Mutations everywhere. It's a miracle they survived at all." She zoomed in on a molecular pattern. "See, their cells are slow, their neurons primitive. No self-healing code, just chaos." Her voice was sharp, proud, full of mockery, but deep inside something felt strange. The human's eyes, though closed, looked calm, peaceful, almost like he knew they were watching him. Hours passed as Virella continued her tests. Temperature, reaction to light, tissue density, everything pointed to weakness. "Pathetic," she said, noting results. "A species that bleeds easily, burns in sunlight, and ages quickly. They're nature's joke." But when she checked the energy field scanner, something odd appeared. A faint pulse. Just one small wave, like a heartbeat, coming not from the brain but from the cells themselves. She frowned. "That's not possible. This specimen is dead." Rill looked at the monitor. "Maybe it's a machine error." Virella adjusted the scanner. The pulse appeared again, stronger this time. A rhythm, thump, thump, thump. Her assistant stepped back. "What is that?" Virella leaned in. Her voice grew quiet. "A resonance frequency. But it's emotional. Emotional frequencies didn't exist. Not in science. Not in logic. Yet the readings showed vibrations similar to what other species emitted only during strong feelings. Grief, love, or hope." She shook her head. "Ridiculous. Dead matter can't feel." Still, she couldn't stop staring at the faint heartbeat on the screen. That night, when the lab emptied, Virella stayed alone. She moved closer to the human body, studying the peaceful expression. "What made your kind think emotions could save you?" she whispered. "You built weapons, destroyed your planet, and still you dream of stars." Her voice echoed in the cold lab. The machines hummed softly. Then, without warning, the lights flickered. The energy scanner beeped. A small glow appeared inside the human chest. Virella froze. No, that's impossible." The glow spread, faint but visible, like a spark trapped in flesh. It pulsed again, matching the earlier rhythm. Thump, thump, thump. She stumbled backward, hitting the control table. "Rill!" she shouted. But Rill was gone. She was alone. The human's body twitched just once. A finger moved. Barely. But she saw it. Virella's hearts raced. Her scientific mind searched for logic, but there was none. The specimen was supposed to be dead. She checked the neural readings. No activity. Yet the cells were reacting, spreading light through the veins like a network of tiny suns. She turned on the recorder. "Experiment log. Unexpected energy activity detected in human sample. Possible chemical reaction." Her voice trembled. She forced herself to sound calm. "I will analyze the molecular cause." But when she touched the energy scanner, her hand trembled again. The moment her finger brushed the control panel, the monitor flickered, and she saw something, a vision. A flash of blue skies, children laughing, a mother hugging her child. The image was gone in seconds, but it felt real. Her cold lab suddenly felt smaller. She blinked, confused. What was that? Her own heart monitor spiked. The room seemed to hum softly. The human's chest gave one final glow, and then silence. Virella stood there for a long moment, staring at the body. The light stabilized. The machines went quiet. It was as if nothing had happened. She tried to laugh, to brush it off as a trick of the sensors. But her hands wouldn't stop shaking. For the first time in her long, logical life, Dr. Virella felt something she couldn't measure or explain. Not fear, not curiosity. Something else. Something human. She turned off the lights, but the faint glow on the human's chest didn't fade. It stayed, soft and steady like a secret heartbeat. Virella whispered to herself as she walked out, "Maybe weakness isn't what we think it is." But deep in the silence of the lab, the human body gave one final, quiet pulse, as if answering her. Dr. Virella did not sleep that night. The faint glow she saw in the human's chest haunted her mind. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw it again, that soft golden pulse beating like a small star inside fragile flesh. She had always believed science explained everything. But now science had gone silent. The next morning, her assistants arrived to find her already in the lab, scanning the human sample again. Dark circles hung beneath her silver eyes, but her hands were steady. She was determined to find the truth. Rill hesitated at the door. "Dr. Virella, you didn't go home?" She didn't answer. The machines around her hummed with new energy, glowing blue and red as she magnified the DNA structure on the hollow screen. Millions of twisting strands floated in front of her, forming an elegant spiral. It looked ordinary at first, just like any biological code, until she zoomed in further. That's when she saw it. Hidden deep inside the repeating sequence of base pairs was a strange formation. Not random, but patterned. 4 lines formed a perfect square, glowing faintly under the energy field. Virella whispered, "That's not natural." She adjusted the filter, trying to measure the frequency. The pattern pulsed as if aware of her attention. The computer beeped and displayed a new symbol. Her assistant frowned. "Is that language?" Virella stared, speechless. "It's not alien, it's mathematics." The DNA was showing numbers, ancient prime sequences arranged in a rhythm, as if someone had written a message in code. For the next few hours, the lab filled with tension. Virella scanned, recorded, compared. The deeper she searched, the more symbols she found, all perfectly aligned, all repeating across millions of cells. It was impossible. No natural species should have mathematical structure inside their genes, and yet humans did. She opened a voice log. Experiment log 047. Human biological code contains recurring numeric formations resembling prime ratios. Possible evidence of designed evolution. Her own voice trembled as she spoke. Designed evolution. It was a forbidden idea. No species was supposed to be created by intelligence. That idea was banned by the Galactic Science Council long ago. Rill leaned closer to the screen. "Maybe it's an artifact, some chemical reflection." Virella shook her head. "No, these numbers are too perfect. Look." She pointed to a pattern repeating every 21 strands. It synchronized like a song, like memory written in flesh. Memory. Rill blinked. "You mean the DNA remembers?" Virella didn't answer, because even she didn't fully understand what she was seeing. When she magnified one sequence further, the image changed again. The molecular lines began shifting, glowing with faint light. The code rearranged itself into a shape, something like a hand reaching upward. Then a burst of static filled the lab. The power flickered. The scanner shut down. Rill shouted, "System overload!" But Virella didn't move. She stood still, staring at the hollow screen where a single line of text appeared written in strange golden letters. "We adapt through pain. We learn through loss." Virella gasped. What is this?" Her heart pounded. The words disappeared as quickly as they came. Moments later, the emergency lights came on. The lab was silent again. Virella turned slowly toward Rill. "Did you see that?" He shook his head nervously. "I saw nothing." "We should report this. Maybe it's contamination." "No," she said sharply. "Don't tell anyone." "Not yet." She walked toward the specimen, the human body, still floating in the capsule. The faint glow in the chest was gone, but something in the air felt alive. She placed her hand against the glass. "Who wrote that code?" she whispered. No answer came. Only silence, then a sound. Very faint, almost like a heartbeat. Thump, thump. Her skin tingled. "No," she said softly. "You can't be alive." The heart monitor showed no movement, but the DNA scanner blinked, detecting something impossible. Every time she spoke, the pattern inside the DNA shifted. As if the cells were responding to her voice, she whispered again. "Can you hear me?" This time the machine emitted a tiny pulse of light. Rill stumbled back. "Dr. Virella, it's reacting." Virella smiled faintly, and not out of joy, but disbelief. "Emotion triggers reaction," she murmured. "Their biology is not just chemical. It's conscious." She began recording faster now, hands moving with purpose. "This could change everything," she said to herself. "If human cells react to emotion, then their entire evolution is emotional design." Rill frowned. "That's absurd. You're saying feelings shape their DNA?" "Yes." She turned toward him, her eyes glowing with realization. "That's why they're unpredictable. That's why they survive disasters. Because emotion rewrites their biology. Fear makes them stronger. Hope makes them heal." Rill stared at her in shock. "That's not science." "No," she said quietly. "It's something beyond science." Suddenly, the lab door burst open. 2 uniformed guards from the Galactic Biosecurity Division stormed in. "Dr. Virella," one shouted. "We detected an unauthorized energy surge from your lab. Explain yourself." Virella tried to hide the readings, but it was too late. The screen still displayed the glowing human code. One guard stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "What is that?" Virella hesitated. "A discovery, one that could redefine life itself." The guard's face turned pale. "You're tampering with restricted biology. Shut this down immediately." He raised his weapon toward the capsule. "Don't!" Virella yelled. But before she could move, the human body released a sudden burst of energy, a shockwave of golden light that threw everyone to the floor. The guards screamed as systems went dark. Sparks flew across the lab, and then in the silence a voice echoed, not from the room but from inside their minds. "Do not fear the fragile. Within them lies the code of creation," Virella gasped. She knew that voice wasn't alien. It was human. When the lights finally returned, the capsule was still. The human body floated quietly once more, the glow fading from its chest. But Virella knew something had changed, not just in the lab, but inside her. The discovery had already rewritten her world, she whispered, trembling. Maybe they were never weak. Maybe they were made to awaken us. Dr. Virella woke up gasping. Her lab ceiling shimmered above her, lights flickering like dying stars. Her hands trembled. The last thing she remembered was the golden shockwave that erupted from the human body, and that voice. That calm, haunting voice that spoke inside her head. Within them lies the code of creation. The memory of those words sent chills through her bones. She sat up slowly. The lab was quiet now, sealed under quarantine protocols. The guards were gone. Rill was unconscious near the console, breathing shallow but alive. The capsule still floated in the center of the room. The human lay motionless again as if nothing had happened, but Virella could feel something. Something alive, not in the air, but inside her. As she stood, a strange image flashed in her mind. A blue sky, white clouds, children running through green grass, and a woman's laughter, one warm and human. Virella froze. What is this?" She grabbed her head as more images flooded in. A street full of people. Rain falling. A man sitting under a tree writing in a small notebook. Words she didn't know filled her mind. "Even in darkness, we hope." Her vision blurred. Her body felt heavy as if 2 realities were colliding inside her. She fell to her knees. The room around her twisted, and suddenly she wasn't in her lab anymore. She stood in a small house made of stone. The air smelled of smoke and bread. An old woman smiled at her from a chair. "You look tired, child," the woman said kindly. Virella's throat tightened. Where am I?" The woman laughed softly. "At home, of course, Earth." The word struck her like thunder. "Earth." Virella stumbled back. "No, this isn't real." The woman reached out and touched her hand. Her skin felt warm and too real. Nothing real ever dies, she whispered. Virella blinked, and the vision shattered. She was back in her lab, breathing hard, hands shaking. Rill groaned and woke. Dr. Virella, what happened? She stared at him with wide eyes. I saw something. A place called Earth, but I've never been there. He frowned. You must have hit your head. No, she said quickly. I saw memories, emotions, things that felt alive. They came from the human body. Rill stared at her like she had lost her mind. You mean, yes. Her voice trembled with disbelief. The human DNA isn't just a code. It's a storage of memories. Every cell carries the experiences of their kind, Rill whispered, horrified. That's impossible. Virella looked at the still human in the capsule. Is it? Because I just lived one of their memories. For hours, she ran test after test, scanning her own neural patterns. To her shock, she found new signals, forming inside her brain faint echoes that matched human emotional frequencies. She could feel things she'd never felt before. Warmth, fear, compassion. Things that made no logical sense in her world. When she looked at the human's peaceful face, she didn't see weakness anymore. She saw history. Maybe, she whispered, they evolved to remember. Every generation carries the pain and joy of the last. Rill shook his head. That sounds like religion, not science. Then maybe science was blind all along, she said quietly. Later that night, when Rill finally left to rest, Virella stayed alone again. The lab lights dimmed. The capsule hummed softly. She couldn't stop thinking about that vision, that old woman's words. Nothing real ever dies. She opened a secret data file and began recording. Log entry 052. Evidence suggests that human DNA contains emotional memory code, possible transfer through energetic contact. Further testing required. As she spoke, her voice trembled. Each human cell may store fragments of lived experience. They don't just pass genes, they pass stories. She turned off the recorder and stared at her reflection on the glass. Her eyes, once cold and silver, now shimmered faintly with golden light. She didn't know whether to feel afraid or honored. Maybe she was becoming something new. Then, without warning, the lab door slid open. A dark shadow stepped inside. It was Director Sorath, the head of Galactic Biology. His black uniform shimmered with authority. His eyes scanned the room coldly. Dr. Virella, he said, voice low. I heard there was an incident. Virella stood straight. Yes, sir. A small energy surge. Under control. Sorath's gaze moved to the capsule. That specimen is a restricted subject. You were told not to experiment beyond observation. I didn't, she lied. It reacted on its own. Sorath studied her face. And you? You look different, I'm fine, but her heart raced. If he found out what she had seen, what she had felt, she'd be finished. Sorath leaned closer. Be careful, Doctor. Curiosity has destroyed many intelligent minds. Then he turned and left, leaving the air cold behind him. Virella exhaled slowly, her hands trembling again. She walked back to the capsule, staring at the silent human. You changed me, she whispered. But why? Why show me your memories? The scanner flickered softly, and for a split second, she saw an image and a human child holding a small planet model, smiling up at her. Then the image faded. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Alien tears she never thought she could shed. For the first time, Dr. Virella truly felt what it meant to be alive. She placed her palm on the glass. If your kind remembers everything, she said softly, then maybe you remember what it means to love. And deep inside the capsule, a single light pulsed again, steady, calm, like a heartbeat from another world. Virella didn't step back this time. She smiled faintly. Then teach me. The human's heartbeat had faded again, but Dr. Virella's mind refused to rest. Every dream, every whisper, every memory she saw, it all pointed to one truth. Humans were hiding something far beyond evolution. The next few days on Tirax 9 passed under heavy watch. The Galactic Council had placed guards outside her lab, claiming it was for safety. But Virella knew the truth. They feared what she had found. Still, she couldn't stop. She had seen human memories, felt their emotions, and even sensed their heartbeat echo inside her own chest. She had to know more. So she worked in silence, waiting for night. When the station lights dimmed and the guards began their rotations, Virella slipped back into the lab alone. The air felt colder than before. The human capsule floated in the center, glowing faintly blue. She activated the holographic scanner again, projecting the human's DNA into the air like a spiral galaxy. Beautiful, mysterious, alive. Her fingers moved quickly, isolating the section where she had once found the coded symbols. There, deeper in the genetic map, she discovered a layer she hadn't seen before. It wasn't just chemical code. It was geometry. Tiny molecular bonds arranged themselves into perfect shapes. Circles, triangles, fractals, and unknown mathematical forms that pulsed like constellations. She whispered, "This isn't evolution, it's architecture." Her computer beeped as it began translating the geometric frequencies into data. Suddenly, the lab filled with streams of light, golden lines forming a pattern that spread across the walls and ceiling. The air vibrated with a soft hum, almost like music. Virella stepped back, eyes wide. "What are you showing me?" The pattern moved, reshaping itself into something new, a symbol she had seen once in ancient council archives. The mark of the first architects, a mysterious race believed to have shaped early galaxies long before alien civilizations existed. Her heart pounded. No, this can't be real. The architects were a myth, legends told to children about beings of light who vanished billions of years ago. But the pattern in human DNA was identical to their ancient seal. She recorded her voice in a whisper. Log entry 067, confirmed presence of architect code within human genetic structure. If true, humans may be a designed species. Their creators could predate known galactic life. She stopped, staring at her reflection in the glass. Her voice trembled. If this is true, everything we know about life is a lie. Suddenly, an alarm flashed across her console. Unauthorized data access detected. Virella froze. Someone was watching her terminal remotely. She tried to disconnect, but a message appeared on her screen, written in bright white text. Stop your research, you have been warned. Her breath caught in her throat. Another line appeared. The architects left barriers for a reason. And then, the console went black. Virella's heart raced. The warning wasn't from the Council's security system. It came through a channel older than the Galactic network, a forgotten frequency. She looked at the human's body. Who is protecting you? She whispered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then faintly, the glow in the capsule returned. Virella backed away as the golden light pulsed through the human's veins again. The air around the capsule shimmered, showing faint outlines, like shadows of figures made of light. Voices whispered in a language she couldn't understand. The sound wasn't threatening. It was mournful, ancient, like a choir from across time. Her translator implant tried to decode the sound, but only one line came through clearly. They were not built to rule, but to remember. Virella's eyes widened. Remember what? The answer came as images, flashing through her mind. Stars being born, planets forming, and beings of radiant energy bending the fabric of life itself. She saw the architects shaping new worlds, creating species across galaxies. But among them, humans were different. They were given something no other creation had, choice. The vision faded, leaving her trembling. Her voice shook. You gave them freedom, and that's what made them dangerous. Before she could process it, the lab door burst open. Director Sorath entered, flanked by armed guards. Dr. Virella, he said coldly, you have gone too far. She stood frozen as the guards surrounded her. Sorath gestured to the capsule. You accessed forbidden data. Architect symbols are sacred. You know the law, Virella shouted. The architects made humans. Don't you see? We've been mocking a species built by the original creators. Sorath's expression darkened. That is heresy, he nodded to the guards. Destroy it, Virella's heart stopped. No! The guards aimed their disintegrators at the human capsule, but before they could fire, the entire room shook. Golden energy exploded from the capsule, throwing everyone backward. Virella fell to the floor, covering her face. When she looked up, the human was standing and alive, glowing, eyes filled with light. The guards screamed and dropped their weapons. Director Sorath stared in shock. What are you? The being looked at him calmly, its voice echoing through every mind in the room. We are what you were meant to become. Then it turned to Virella. You listened. You remembered. Tears filled her eyes. Who are you? The echo of creation, it said softly. The code that binds all life. The golden light pulsed once more, flooding the lab with warmth. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the being vanished, leaving only the faint hum of power and the sound of Virella's heartbeat. Director Sorath struggled to his feet, terrified. "Erase everything," he ordered. This never happened. But Virella was already backing away, clutching the data crystal in her hand, the proof of what she had seen. As the alarms blared, she whispered to herself, "You can erase files, but not truth." She ran out of the lab, heart pounding, carrying the secret that could destroy the entire Galactic Council. And far behind her, in the empty room, the capsule shimmered once more, one last heartbeat glowing inside. The halls of the Galactic Tribunal glowed with cold blue light. Thousands of alien eyes watched in silence as Dr. Virella was led through the corridor in iron restraints. The guards kept their weapons aimed at her back, though she didn't resist. She had stopped fearing punishment. There was something heavier inside her now, something greater than fear. The truth. She carried it in her mind, in her heart, and in the small data crystal hidden inside her sleeve, proof that humans carried the architect's code. As she stepped into the massive circular courtroom, a deep voice echoed from above. "Dr. Virella of Tirax 9, you stand accused of violating the bioconsciousness law, tampering with forbidden genetics, and endangering galactic security. How do you plead?" Virella raised her chin. "I plead guilty to discovering the truth." A murmur swept through the crowd. The council members, tall figures cloaked in light, looked down on her from a high platform. The High Chancellor, a creature made of shimmering crystal, leaned forward. "You claim to have uncovered something in the human code. Explain." Virella took a slow breath. "Humans are not primitive. Their DNA contains a pattern, a living code. It matches the signatures of the first architects. They were made by design." The hall filled with gasps, whispers, and angry voices. The Chancellor struck his staff. "Silence!" His voice boomed. "You expect us to believe that a weak, emotional species from a dying planet carries divine code? Absurd!" Virella's voice rose, strong and desperate. "I saw it with my own eyes. I felt it. Their DNA is memory, living history written by the hands that built the stars." The Chancellor's eyes glowed red. "You speak heresy, Doctor. The architects are legend. You insult science with superstition." But Virella didn't back down. "They are not superstition. They are truth we buried because it scared us." She turned to face the crowd. "You mock humans for being weak, yet their fragility hides a design beyond our comprehension. They bleed, they suffer, but every pain becomes memory. Every loss becomes strength." Her words echoed through the hall, heavy with emotion. "I discovered a pattern inside their DNA, a structure that responds to emotion itself. It grows with empathy. It evolves through hope." The council erupted again, voices overlapping, fear, anger, disbelief. One alien shouted, "Lies! Humans destroy everything they touch." Virella looked at him and replied softly, "And yet they always rebuild." Suddenly, a massive screen behind the council flickered on. Unauthorized data appeared, glowing gold patterns moving across the holographic display. Gasps filled the room. The symbol of the architects appeared, the same ancient mark Virella had found. The guards rushed toward her, accusing her of hacking the system. But she shouted, "It's not me." The golden light spread across the chamber walls, forming a spiral of living energy. A deep, calm voice filled the air, the same one Virella had heard in her lab. "You silence truth to protect your pride." The audience fell to their knees. The air shimmered as a holographic figure appeared in the center of the hall, a being of pure light, vaguely human in shape. "You question the value of the fragile," it said, "yet you forget who gave you the breath to speak." The council froze. The Chancellor stammered, Who are you?" "We are the architects, the first builders, the ones who shaped life before you were dust." The light being turned its gaze toward Virella. "You remembered what others chose to forget." Virella's eyes filled with tears. "Why me?" "Because you listened. Because you mocked and then you learned." The tribunal trembled as the light expanded, filling every corner of the hall. Images flashed before every mind. Planets being born, stars dying, humans standing in rain, holding one another through disaster. The voice spoke again. now echoing through every being present. We gave them emotion as a bridge between the finite and the eternal. In them lies the code of evolution, not through power but through love. The Chancellor shouted, "Stop this illusion. Guards, destroy the system." But their weapons melted into dust. The light being's tone deepened. You fear what you cannot control. Humanity was never your enemy. They were your reflection, your reminder that life is meant to grow through compassion, not domination. Virella stepped forward, unafraid. Then why hide them? Why keep their design secret? The being's glow softened. Because the universe was not ready. Every civilization that learns the truth must choose. Destroy themselves in arrogance or evolve in humility. Its light dimmed slightly, forming a faint outline of a human face. Now the choice is yours, and then silence. The light vanished. The hall was dark. The crowd sat stunned, breathing heavily, the weight of revelation pressing down on them. The Chancellor finally rose, trembling. "What just happened?" he whispered. Then louder, "Dr. Virella, you will be—" But before he could finish, his voice cracked. His crystalline form glowed red and shattered into dust. The tribunal guard screamed. The golden pattern spread again, this time from Virella's chest. It pulsed through the air, the same rhythm as the human heartbeat she had once studied. Her body glowed faintly, eyes filled with light. The architect's voice whispered one last time inside her mind. "You carry the code now. Guard it, share it, awaken them." When the light faded, the tribunal was silent. The crowd bowed their heads. Virella stood alone, no longer a prisoner. Her chains had melted away. She held the crystal in her palm, now glowing with the same gentle pulse as a human heart. She looked up at the council seats and said quietly, "The trial is over. The truth has already judged us all." That day, whispers spread through the galaxies about the alien scientist who stood against the tribunal and survived the wrath of light. Some called her mad. Others called her chosen. But in secret, many began studying human DNA again, and in quiet laboratories across distant worlds, faint golden lights began to appear, glowing softly, like hearts remembering something ancient. The universe had gone silent. After the trial, no one spoke of Dr. Virella in public. The Galactic Tribunal sealed all records, erased data, and banned her name from archives. To the Council, she was a threat, a whisper of truth that could shatter empires. But whispers cannot be erased. They travel, from star to star, from one frightened scientist to another, until silence itself begins to tremble. And in that silence, something new began to awaken. Virella walked through the empty corridors of an abandoned station orbiting a dying sun. Her body felt different now, lighter but alive in ways she couldn't explain. The faint golden glow that had spread from her chest during the trial still pulsed softly beneath her skin. She no longer needed machines to scan or translate. She could feel the energy of life around her, faint heartbeats echoing across the stars. The architect's final words echoed in her mind. "You carry the code now. Guard it, share it, awaken them." But what did it mean? How could she share something so powerful without destroying everything? Days turned into weeks. She studied herself like she once studied the human body, curious, cautious, afraid. Her blood had changed. Under the microscope, it shimmered gold and silver, moving in rhythm like music. When she touched the metal table, it responded, humming faintly, vibrating like it recognized her. She could hear faint voices sometimes, not alien, not machine. Human voices, a child laughing, a man whispering, "Keep going," a woman saying, "Remember who we are." Every sound filled her chest with warmth and sorrow. She realized she was hearing the echo of humanity inside her. The architect's gift had fused her alien biology with human memory. She was no longer fully alien, and not fully human. She was something in between. One night she looked out from the observatory window, staring at a small blue planet far below. Not Earth, but similar, rich with life. Her voice was soft. "You gave them emotion so they could evolve. But what am I now?" No answer came. Only the faint hum of the cosmos. And then, without warning, the lights in the room flickered. Her reflection in the glass shimmered, and another image appeared beside her, a man with kind eyes wearing human clothing. Virella turned quickly, No one was there. The figure smiled faintly in the reflection. "You carry us now," he said. "You are the bridge. Who are you?" Virella whispered. "A memory," he replied. "One of billions. We are the song the architects wrote into the universe." Then his image faded, leaving her trembling. Tears rolled down her cheeks in the same way they had for humans. She finally understood. Humans were never designed to dominate. They were designed to connect, to feel, to remember, to awaken others through empathy. And now that same design had reached her. Suddenly, the alarm from her console blared. "Incoming transmission. Encrypted galactic signal." She opened it carefully. The screen lit up with the symbol of the Council Enforcement Division. A robotic voice spoke. "Dr. Virella, you are charged with spreading biological corruption across 3 systems. Surrender immediately." Her heart sank. She hadn't spread anything. At least not intentionally. She checked her external sensors and froze. Across nearby colonies, energy readings were rising, faint golden lights pulsing from life forms everywhere. Animals, plants, even machines were beginning to emit soft emotional frequencies. Her blood connection had traveled through signals, through the data network, and through memory resonance itself. The architect's code was spreading. Panic spread through the galactic sectors. Scientists tried to contain it. Machines malfunctioned, driven by waves of empathy. Even cold, emotionless species began to dream for the first time in centuries. Some called it infection. Others called it awakening. And at the center of it all was Virella, the alien who had once mocked human biology. The Council's fleet surrounded her station. Massive ships blocked the light of the sun. Their commander's voice echoed through her comms. "Virella, by order of the Galactic Authority, you are to surrender and allow us to cleanse your corrupted body." She smiled sadly. "You call it corruption. I call it life." Then she closed her eyes and the golden pulse in her chest expanded, faster, stronger. The entire station glowed. Every screen flickered with images, memories of humanity. A mother holding her child, a firefighter saving strangers, 2 people rebuilding a city from rubble. Billions of emotions transmitted through light. Her voice echoed through the fleet. "You can't erase empathy. You can't imprison hope." The fleet opened fire. Energy beams struck the station, but instead of exploding, the golden light absorbed them. The ships faltered. The crews began hearing whispers. Laughter, crying, music, all mixed into one endless memory. Inside their hearts, they felt something they'd never known. Compassion. Commanders dropped their weapons. Pilots wept. Engineers stopped the attack. The golden wave spread further, leaping from ship to ship, planet to planet. A tide of emotion washed across the stars, and at its center stood Virella, glowing brighter than the sun. Her final words to the network were simple. "This is not the end. This is your beginning." When the light faded, the battlefield was silent. No bodies, no smoke. Only peace. Across galaxies, life changed. Species that had never felt emotion began to sing. Worlds once at war began to speak again. And in the heart of every living being, a faint golden pulse now beat, like a second heartbeat beneath their own. The architect's code had awakened the galaxy. But Virella was gone. Or so they thought. Deep in the void, far from any star, a single light floated. Small, steady, alive. Inside it, a figure formed slowly. Dr. Virella opened her eyes, now glowing with both alien silver and human gold. She smiled softly. "You were right," she whispered to the memory of the humans who once were mocked. Weakness was never failure. It was the key. She looked toward the stars, feeling millions of hearts beating together. The awakening had begun, and the universe would never be the same again. Years passed after the awakening. The galaxy was no longer the same. Worlds that once fought for dominance now shared knowledge and empathy. Machines once built for destruction now helped rebuild lost civilizations. The cold metallic silence of space had changed, replaced by a soft hum, a rhythm felt in every living being. That rhythm was called the pulse of humanity. It beat in every heart, alien, human or machine, connecting them through invisible threads of memory and emotion. And at the center of that awakening, the name Dr. Virella became legend. No one had seen her since the battle near the dying sun. Some believed she had perished, her body consumed by the golden light she unleashed. Others whispered that she had become one with it, that her essence now lived across the stars, guiding the awakened minds. But the truth was far more mysterious. On the quiet moon of Lunaris 3, a group of young scientists gathered near a lake that glowed faintly gold under the night sky. They were from different species: blue-skinned Tyraxians, silver-eyed Arca, and one small human child named Lena. They were building something, a monument of light. At its center stood a crystal cube humming with a gentle pulse. Lena looked up at her teacher, an elderly alien named Rill, once Virella's assistant. "Is it true?" the girl asked softly. "That the light came from a human?" Rill smiled faintly. "Yes, from one human and one alien who learned to listen." He placed his hand over the crystal. "Dr. Virella's final message lives in here. It's time you heard it." The cube activated. Golden waves rippled outward, and a holographic figure appeared. Virella, just as she looked years ago, her eyes glowing with calm warmth. Her voice was soft, almost like a mother speaking to her children. "If you are hearing this, it means the pulse still lives. I once mocked a species I did not understand. I thought weakness was failure. But humans taught me that emotion is not a flaw. It is the blueprint of strength." Lena's eyes widened as the hologram continued, shimmering under the moonlight. Their DNA was not random. It was a gift, a living library that remembers love, loss, and hope. They were made not to conquer, but to remind us what life truly means. The light spread around the lake, forming moving images, memories of Earth, oceans, storms, laughter, and tears. Lena gasped, reaching out to touch the holographic waves. "The architects gave humans the power to evolve through compassion," Virella's voice said. "And when they awakened me, that gift spread to the stars." Her holographic eyes turned gentle, almost human. "If you carry even a spark of empathy, you carry their legacy. Protect it." Then her voice grew quiet. "Someday, when the stars fade, it will not be the strong who remain, but the kind." The hologram flickered and the light dimmed. The lake went still again. Lena wiped her eyes. "She sounds sad." Rill nodded slowly. "She gave everything so others could feel again." "That's not sadness. That's peace." He looked up at the sky where a faint golden shimmer ran between the stars. "That light you see? It's not dust or radiation. It's the code. It connects all life now." The girl smiled. "Then she's not gone." "No," Rill said softly. "She's everywhere." Far beyond Lunaris 3, across endless systems, new life began to bloom in strange ways. Planets that had long been barren now pulsed with golden energy. Species thought extinct were reborn through shared memory, reconstructed by the code of emotion. Even machines began to dream. They painted art, wrote poetry, and told stories about the strange beings called humans. Entire academies were built to study the human phenomenon, teaching how compassion once saved the galaxy. And among them, one phrase became universal truth: to be human is to remember. But deep in the outer rim, near a black hole known as the Silent Abyss, something stirred. A figure of light floated beyond time, calm, radiant, and alive. Dr. Virella. Her form was no longer flesh but energy, a fusion of alien intellect and human empathy. She could hear millions of heartbeats, each one connected through the code. She smiled softly to herself. "They remember," she whispered. "The architects would be proud." Around her, fragments of human memories floated like stars. Laughter, kindness, courage, love. She could feel Earth through them, not its soil, but its spirit. And for the first time in her immortal existence, she felt home. She looked toward the distant galaxies where new civilizations were rising. Her voice carried across the void, unseen but felt. "Never mock the fragile, for from fragility comes compassion, from compassion comes unity, and from unity comes eternity." The black hole before her began to glow, not with destruction, but with rebirth. Golden light spiraled outward, turning darkness into creation. A new star was born, and in its light her form dissolved, merging with the pulse itself, becoming part of the living code she once discovered. On Lunaris 3, the golden lake rippled again. Lena looked up at the sky, eyes wide. "Look, the stars. They're changing color." Rill smiled. "She's still teaching us." The stars shimmered, forming faint patterns, a human hand reaching out surrounded by endless light. Lena whispered, "What does it mean?" Rill placed a hand on her shoulder. "It means the universe remembers." From that day, every newborn across the galaxy carried a faint golden glow in their heartbeat. It became known as the legacy of humankind, the eternal gift of emotion, left behind by a small, fragile species that once dared to love beyond their limits. And among the stars, the voice of Dr. Virella, now one with the code, whispered through time. Humanity was never a mistake. They were the key that opened forever.